existence, the physical universe, is basically playful. There is no necessity for it whatsoever. It isn't going anywhere. That is to say, it doesn't have some destination that it ought to arrive at. But it is best understood by analogy with music, because music, as an art form, is essentially playful. We say you play the piano. You don't work the piano? Why? Music differs from, say, travel. When you travel, you aren't trying to get somewhere. One doesn't make the end of the composition, the point of the composition. If that were so, the best conductors would be those who played fastest. And there would be composers who wrote only finales. People would go to concerts just to hear one cracking chord, because that's the end. Same when dancing. You don't aim at a particular spot in the room. That's where you should arrive. The whole point of the dancing is the dance. Now, but we don't see that as something brought by our education into our everyday conduct. We've got a system of schooling which gives a completely different impression. It's all graded. And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system. And now you go to kindergarten, and that's a great thing, because when you finish that, you get into first grade. And then, first grade leads to second grade, and so on. And then you get out of grade school, and you go to high school, and it's revving up. The thing is coming. And then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you'll get into graduate school, and when you're through with graduate school, you'll go out to join the world. And then you'll get into some racket where you're selling insurance, and they've got that quota to make. And you're going to make that. And all the time, that thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing, the success you're working for. Then, when you wake up one day, about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. By expectation, look at the people who live to retire and put those savings away. And then, when they're 65, they don't have any energy left. They're more or less impotent. And they go and rot in an old people's senior citizens community, because we simply cheated ourselves the whole way down the line. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end, and the thing was to get to that end, success, or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or to dance while the music was being played. You wake up each morning in the midst of a miracle, though you do not know it. The sky rises above, the birds sing without rehearsal, and the breath moves in and out of your chest, like the tide upon the shores. Yet you rush in haste, with furrowed brow and troubled mind, as though the world were lacking and must be mended by your effort. You believe you must become something more noble, more virtuous, more accomplished, as if the tree labors to be taller, or the stars strain to shine. But look, the lily does not toil, nor does the mountain strive, and yet both are whole beyond measure. But man somehow forgets this. He sets out on a curious chase to prove his worth, to outdo the heavens, to paint better than the eyes with which he sees. Man becomes confused not by what is, but by what he thinks about what is. When the thinking begins, it comes with the illusion of separation, of self and other, subject and object, seeker and sought. He saw his reflection in the river and thought he was two, one who is and one who must become. From birth, he is taught to strive, to earn his place beneath the sun, as if being were not already his birthright. He is taught that love is not simply given, but earned, that one must perform, impress, and improve to be seen. And so love, which ought to be like the sunlight asking nothing in return, becomes a transaction, a test. He learns that applause is affection and silence is shame, that gold stars and good grades are the currency of being worthy. And so the stage is set not for living, but for proving. Achievement becomes his identity. The crown he places on his head is heavy, for it is forged from fear. He is praised not for stillness, but for struggle, not for presence, but for progress. And so he learns to measure his soul with numbers, to bind his worth in titles, and to chase approval like a hungry ghost. The mind, once a mirror, becomes a maze. Thoughts breed thoughts, each one trying to fix the last. The more he knows, the more he doubts. The more he gains, the more he fears to lose. In this tangle of becoming, he forgets the simple joy of being. He walks past the sky without seeing it, and holds beauty in his hands without knowing it. What was once delight in the present moment becomes a search for meaning. He no longer walks, he hurries. He no longer breathes, he calculates. He looks not at the flower, but at its usefulness. The world becomes less a mystery and more a task. He has traded the mystery for the map, the dance for the destination. And so the play of life continues, exquisite, unnoticed, while he remains lost in the echo of his own becoming. The ego says, once I have the dream, I'll finally be enough. There's nothing wrong with building, achieving, creating, but when it becomes your identity, when it becomes a measurement of your worth, you have placed a mask over something already divine. It's like a flame trying to become fire, a wave trying to reach the ocean, a singer trying to impress the silence that holds her voice. You look up at the stars and say, how beautiful. But have you ever wondered what is doing the looking? We talk about the miracle of the universe, the galaxies, the vastness, the golden sunrise over mountaintop. And yet we forget none of it exists without you. Without the eye, there is no light. Without the witness, there is no wonder. Without awareness, there is no world. The galaxy isn't simply out there. It arises in here, in consciousness. The sun shines, yes, but it is your presence that makes it beautiful. It is your skin that feels warm. It is your mind that gives the sky its meaning. And what is this body? Billions of cells working in silence, rivers of blood moving to a song you do not need to compose. You don't tell your heart to beat, it just does. You don't remind your lungs to breathe, and yet they never forget. So why do you keep forgetting? You are already part of the miracle you seek. The breath, the silence, the seeing. The problem is not that you haven't achieved enough. The problem is that you have mistaken the miracle for a task. You've turned existence into a checklist. And so you miss the symphony that is already playing right now, without any need to earn it. You want to be loved, not realizing you are love, seeking itself. You want to be seen, not realizing you are the light that allows anything to be seen at all. You don't need to prove your existence. You are existence. Let your dreams guide you. Yes, the striving, the proving, the reaching, all part of the play, but it was just a game. See, achievement is beautiful when it flows from wholeness, when it's an expression of joy, curiosity, love, but not a cry for validation. When you wear the mask too long, it sticks. And now you think you are the mask. Let's stop and ask something simple. What exactly are you trying to achieve? And for whom? Status? Success? Enlightenment? Do you even know? Or are you just moving? Because stillness feels too confronting? You see, the moment you try to become something, you imply that you're not already whole. That's the trick. This constant effort to prove, improve, achieve, it assumes you're somehow incomplete. But who taught you that? Culture? Parents? School? Somewhere along the way, you absorb the idea that your worth depends on performance, that you must be built, shaped, justified. But have you ever stopped to question that premise? To ask, who am I trying to impress and why? Most people don't know. They just keep running. Most people never ask. They move through life accumulating roles, titles, experiences, believing that somewhere in all of it, they will finally become something definitive. But they never stop to notice the self they're trying to complete is the same one inventing the problem. The real illusion is not failure. It's the belief that you are a project to be fixed, that there's a final version of you out there, worth all this effort to reach. So before we go on, consider, is this pursuit actually necessary? What are you chasing? Can you paint better than your eyes? Can you craft beauty greater than your skin? Can you sing louder than silence? Can you write song that's sweeter than sex? Without your seeing, is the sky still blue? Without your awareness, does the moon still glow? What is color without sight? What is beauty without the one who beholds it? And this dream, this striving to be someone, who told you it was missing? Man keeps chasing greatness to prove he is worthy, forgetting he is the dreamer, the dream, and the one watching it unfold. What if there is nothing to become? What if all your effort is only dust in the light? You were never meant to improve the world. You are how the world improves itself.